You ever seen an Oberheim that really isn't an Oberheim? Well, that's what you're looking at right here, and we're going to explore it today, and we're going to talk about why it is one of the more maligned synthesizers in the history of synthesizers. So stick around. Hello, Internet. Chris Klein here with Alma Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. And today we're going to look at the Oberheim OB-12. But before we move on, if you haven't subscribed to us already, let's go ahead and do that, please, because we're going to be bringing you more content like this where we're exploring oddities and synthesizers that have maybe gained a strange reputation. And we're going to move forward and discuss that right now. So this is a really, really unique keyboard or synthesizer. It is a virtual analog synthesizer. It has an amazing build. It's steel with these plastic cheeks. It has a nice keyboard, modulation, pitch bend, ribbon controller, potentiometers, faders, buttons for every single parameter. This thing is loaded, but it is not an Oberheim. It says Oberheim, it says OB-12, but this was actually made by an Italian company called Viscount. And Viscount has been known for their Hammond and organ emulations throughout the years. This was originally manufactured in 2000. They were produced for about 4 years, and even back then, this was a hot button topic. Oberheim, the name itself, the company, has changed hands a few times. And when Viscount used the Oberheim name for this synth, the name was actually owned by Gibson, and for those of you that follow our guitar channel, we all know about the tumultuous history of Gibson, especially in the past 5 years. So what Viscount did was they built a really fantastic virtual analog synthesizer, and they licensed the name from Gibson and stamped Oberheim on here. Now you will see the back of this eventually. It says a Viscount joint venture. But there's really no Oberheim DNA in this, which has upset a lot of people. And it continues to upset and draw ear from people 22 years later on the internet. So what's in the name? Does the name even matter if the synthesizer sounds great and offers a bunch of features, which this does? I mean, for 22 years old, this synth is an absolute monster. But it's very polarizing. People say, oh, it sucks, it's not a real Oberheim, or oh, it's fantastic, it doesn't sound like an Oberheim. I'm not here to tell you which one of those opinions is right. I'm just here to give you the details about an amazing synthesizer. So excellent, excellent synthesizer, 12 voices with 2 oscillators per voice, onboard effects, motion recording. You can record movements. It has an arpeggiator, it has a phrase recorder. It does so much. It has a digital coax output on the back. Standard 5-pin MIDI DIN, in, out, and through. You have aux outputs, you have your main outputs, you have a headphone. You have this giant display that literally shows you what you're manipulating, where a lot of the virtual analog synthesizers at the time, the Roland JP8080, the Nord Leads, they didn't give you that much information. They had lots of tactile controls, but when I start messing with ADSR and LFO and everything else on here, this really, really nice LCD display is going to show me what I'm doing. And it's laid out really, really well in that you can kind of follow the signal flow with your oscillators, your filters, your LFO. Again, you can get so deep with this. And if you're really, really into sound design, this synthesizer is going to sate your appetite to create new sounds probably forever. So I'm going to say it again. Is it fair to say that this isn't a good synthesizer because it's not a real Oberheim? That's not being too objective about the synth itself, And this has happened all throughout the years across all kinds of industries where a car is made and they stamp Porsche on it, or a piano is made and they put Steinway and Sons on it even though it's something else. Or it's no different here. This is not an Oberheim, even though it says Oberheim. This is a Viscount synthesizer. But again, is it fair to take a dump on something because it's not an Oberheim? Does it still sound good? I think that is what we want to know. What does this sound like? What can it do for me in my productions as a performer, as a sound designer? And you know, let's not beat around the bush anymore. Let's just take a listen to it and hear what this synth actually sounds like. Let's go. So for those of you that are wondering a little about the architecture of this synth, it is 12 voices with 2 oscillators per voice, 2 LFOs, multiple effects. You can route this synth any number of ways. You can the filter itself is a 2-pole or 12 dB per octave. However, the filters can be mixed together to make 24 dB per octave. You have low pass, band pass, and high pass. The band pass filters can be worked in unison, so you can create vocal types of effects. There's just no limit to what can happen with this. And you probably hear me say that a lot, because again, and you're going to hear me say this a lot too, it has to do with your imagination and how far you can stretch the technology. As you can see, everything here is laid out for you. There is no shortage of tactile control, and you can record your movements on different parameters. There's a lot that you can do. Let's listen to it.
So hopefully now you have a better understanding of what this synth can do, how it sounds, its facilities, and why the name sometimes doesn't have any bearing on the instrument. You know, we didn't talk about it at the beginning, but when this synth came out, I want to say it was 799 pounds, which is not a whole lot of money. In 2000, I think the pound was at $1.62, $1.63, somewhere in there, right? So this keyboard was a little over $1,000. And because it didn't do well because of marketing, and there was also an operating system issue, this keyboard or synthesizer was soon discounted to about 500 pounds, 499 pounds. Today, I see these go for $12, $15, as high as $2,000. There's one on Reverb right now, and we're shooting this video on May 5th, I believe. It's May 5th. And there's one on Reverb today for $1,200. And some lucky person is going to step into this keyboard, this synthesizer. They're going to get it home, they're going to start tweaking it, and they're going to go, oh my God, how come I hadn't done this earlier? You'll even find a couple of articles online where people say, I had one, I sold it, I immediately knew it was a mistake, I had to search for another one, I paid a little more for it, I'm glad I have it again, I'm never going to let it go. I'm never going to let mine go. I could care less about the name. You know, when people ask, do you have an Oberheim? I go, yeah, I got an Oberheim, but it's not a real Oberheim, it's a Viscount. But who cares? Because it sounds killer. So now that you have my whole philosophy on the name versus, you know, what a synth can do, Oberheim, not an Oberheim, I mean, again, who cares, right? I'm going to go ahead and end this. So please tune in with us again. Once again, subscribe if you haven't. Be sure to take a look at our piano, guitar, bass, accordion channels. We have a bunch of different channels. And keep on creating. Be kind to each other. Leave your comments down below. Let us know a little more about what you want to know and what kind of content you want to see. We have been listening and reading your contents, and we are starting to produce more that's based off of your feedback. And hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.